Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kevin Bargness from the Department of Planning and Development. I want to let you know this webinar is being recorded and live streamed to DPD's YouTube page, and I will turn it over to Mike Perella to lead us off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Perella, and I'm a project manager with the City of Chicago's Department of Planning and Development. I have been the project manager assigned to the North Avenue corridor, and therefore am coordinating our department's efforts to redevelop the Pioneer Bank per the RFP that was released in April. We're here for a pre-bid conference to answer questions prospective applicants may have about Invest Southwest, the RFP process, and the Pioneer Bank. With me today are members of DPD who can help assist in answering any questions. Chris Jang, who's leading the RFP effort, James Harbin, my deputy commissioner, Arthur Dolinsky from our law department, Heidi Keller from our Department of Assets, Information and Services, which runs the environmental, and Ed Solis, who's with our Financial Incentives Bureau, among others, I believe. So we would ask that you refrain from speaking at this time. I will be giving a presentation outlining the RFP process, and then the Q&A portion will proceed via the chat window. So again, please type your questions in the chat when you have them, and we will get to them as one by one. So thank you for your time, and without further ado, I'll get started. Okay, sorry about that. All right. So what are Invest Southwest RFPs? If you are new to the Invest Southwest initiative, it is an exciting opportunity that the city has put forward in this past year and a half to revitalize neighborhoods in the south and west side through a targeted investment strategy in select neighborhoods and along select corridors. The RFP program is one of those initiatives where the city is taking a more active role in soliciting development proposals on city-owned land, or in this case, privately owned land. What you find in traditional RFPs is that they simply detail the subject property size, zoning, and appraised value and ask you for your best shot. What we want to do is go a step further and illustrate the desired urbanism and use desired by the community that we think would be best, we in the community think would be a best fit for the site, to see if the development community can respond in kind and deliver. We understand that some of these sites are challenging, so we built the RFP initiative on the understanding that incentives will be essential for making them work, and we're going to make sure that that each of these proposals are feasible in pairing the private dollars with the public incentive dollars. To date, we have released 10 RFPs. The first round in August were the first round to go out in Austin, Inglewood, and Auburn Gresham, and awards were made to the winning respondents in March. The next round, 4 different neighborhoods in Lawndale, Bronzeville, Back at the Yards, and South Chicago are currently, they received applications and are currently under review. This latest round sees us look at 3 different neighborhoods, or 2 different neighborhoods, 3 different corridors. 2 of the corridors are in Humboldt Park, one on North Avenue, which I'm presenting for today, and another one on Chicago Avenue, and then another one in South Shore. As you can see, the responses that we selected for the 3 neighborhoods that were released in August has resulted in $65 million invested to be invested in 3 different neighborhoods, and it's been a great success and really uplifting for the city to see so much developer interest come through to these otherwise neglected neighborhoods. So you see here, Austin, Auburn, Gresham, Inglewood all have proposals in the works. The Austin initiative is seeking to redevelop the Laramie State Bank building with a $37.5 million project and 70-unit housing and community plaza and cultural center, Blues Museum, I should say, within that cultural center. The Auburn Gresham proposal is another 56-unit affordable housing project with a healthy lifestyle hub. And the Inglewood Connect is a $10.3 million project to rebuild a fire station down in Inglewood, close to the Whole Foods, into a commercial kitchen and culinary incubator. All 3 of these projects will be transformative for the neighborhood, and we want to see this kind of design creativity and thought and redevelopment activity happen in the latest round, and especially on the North Avenue corridor, Pioneer Bank. The four other proposals that were released in November, again, we've received responses back. We're reviewing them now. They imagined a variety of mixed-use residential and commercial developments across commercial corridors in the city. And we look forward to selecting a winning respondent in the coming month and seeing those developments come into fruition. Whereas this round, we have three RFPs pending, and with responses due back in August 31st. The North Avenue corridor, as I mentioned, the Chicago Avenue, and the South Shore 79th and Exchange. And here you see just a snapshot of each of the proposals. So let's dig in again to the corridor I'm most invested in, which is the North Avenue corridor, and explain the context a bit, if you're unfamiliar, and the site and why we think it's a great opportunity for a potential developer to redevelop. The corridor itself, as I stated, is on North Avenue. It runs from about Kedzie Avenue to the east to roughly Costner Grand to the west. It encompasses the Humboldt Park community. And what you find in this corridor is a good and healthy mix of walkable amenities and retail and residential activity. You're close to the Humboldt Park proper, which is a wonderful community amenity, as you are to the 606 Trail, which is a newer community amenity, obviously, as well as several small regional parks, schools, and libraries. And one thing that is unique about our corridor, I think, is that it has a healthy retail environment and a very stable residential environment as well. And I think that's particularly attractive in that it's almost a known quantity in that regard. It's only just outside areas where are seeing more investment. And that's a particular concern to, I think, our stakeholders as well, because that investment is usually exclusive and not for the community itself. So something we really want to focus on in this RFP is making sure that the community development that we see here at North and Pulaski is a community development that speaks to the actual community and includes them, and it doesn't displace them. Here is a little bit closer context for the site itself. Pardon me. And the site that we're looking at is in red. It is the Pioneer Bank building and the vacant site to the north. But as you can see, it is right at the northwest corner of Pulaski and North Avenue, what was the traditional hub for this neighborhood of economic activity. And why it was a hub, it used to have theaters, entertainment facilities, large institutional banks. The bank is closed, but we do see activity in this area still. There's redevelopment in the works on the southwest corner to hopefully redevelop the old Pioneer Arcade building. And we want to see that development momentum continue with the Pioneer Bank building. The building itself is a historically significant building built in 1925. It's a 5-story bank building with a basement level. What you see on the lower 3 floors is the old banking hall. That's the middle, on the bottom middle to third from the right, second from the left photo, you see that banking hall in there. It's wrapped with some small mezzanine levels, but otherwise you see this soaring 3-story space that used to be the hall and now could be something far greater. On the upper floors were the office spaces of the old bank, and they could be office again. To the west of the existing bank is what we're calling the bank annex building. This is not part of the historic register. It's a 2-story building that was added on after the bank was built in 1925. And to the north are several parcels that are vacant, and I'll detail them here. So what you see here is a site map showing the different parcels. We have 3 sites, all under common ownership. They're all privately owned by one owner, essentially. The bank, the annex, and the vacant lot. The bank is improved, 50,000 square feet roughly, 9,375 square foot annex, again 2 stories, and 33,500, excuse me, not 5,000, apologize for that typo, but vacant site to the north. So what is the vision that we've staked forth? Now, the vision was completed over several months. We've been holding monthly roundtable meetings with local stakeholders and elected officials, and in hopes of finding a vision that the community can support. And one thing, as I said earlier, that is crystal clear for this community is the threat of displacement and the concern over gentrification, and something that we want to put a stop to in this development. And gentrification is not just the displacement of families, you know, it's the displacement of culture. So we could imagine, or we have imagined, that the banking hall could be a heritage center, a community and cultural hub that is publicly accessible, culturally significant, reflective of the local Latino heritage, inclusive and community controlled. And you know, there's a variety of different uses that could go in that. And I can show you in the next slide some potential ideas. And on the vacant site, we want to see 100% affordable housing development with family-sized units. Pardon me. And one that is large too. We want to maximize the density of the site and ensure that we can use that site to its fullest potential to house the many families who need homes in the Humboldt Park community. And as I said, you know, the Heritage Center or the cultural hub, as it's described in the RFP, could be a variety of uses. It could be theaters, library spaces, business incubators, tech incubators, community meeting space, empowerment centers, art space, just function space. The important thing is that it reflects the local community and there's control over who programs it and who runs it and how it's used. And these are some examples of different ideas that sort of could fit the space and may hopefully provide inspiration for the developers in the audience who have shared this vision and want to turn it into a reality. So as part of the RFP process, we consulted with BKL Architects, among many other consultants, who helped us create a defined vision for the site. And as I stated, one half of the vision is that Heritage Center, that cultural hub. The other half of the vision is that affordable housing project. And what you see here is both of those visions rendered. Prominently in the foreground is this affordable housing structure. We see a retail at the base and you know, a 6 to 7 story building rising above it. Again, the goal is to house as many families here as we can. Here's another view of that structure. We tried to include a community plaza. We think a community plaza is a great amenity for the neighborhood, both in terms of programming it and creating a hub that's outside in the nice weather months, but also we're trying to connect the two halves of this building. You have a historic building and what will be a modern building. And what we want to see are these two halves linked together in some way. So in our vision, we imagine it as a plaza with a bridge over the alley between the two buildings to create an entrance that you can walk between. You know, we're looking for creativity and vision in this regard as well. How do you link these buildings together into a cohesive whole? This is one way to do it. And there could be others, and we'd like to see the creativity shine through in the development proposals. So briefly want to run through some incentive options that the city, you know, is considering among many. We understand this will be an expensive undertaking and one where you know, there'll be a large gap that public assistance will likely need to be filled. And luckily the city has resources in this area, and we believe we can support this project. Paramount among them is TIF, but we also have Class 7 A, B, and C property and L property tax credits, new market tax credits, neighborhood opportunity fund, and historic tax credits. As I said, the Pioneer Bank building is a Chicago landmark, and it could receive a state designation, a federal designation to get access to historic tax credits. And we believe that's something that developers should pursue because it'd be an invaluable tool in redeveloping the bank. This is critical for the city and for our community stakeholders. You know, how you will be judged in your responses to the RFP. You know, the city is committed to the idea of the principle, I should say, of community wealth building, where we give, you know, control, ownership, and decision-making authority to those people who are historically disadvantaged and those people who have been left out of the process to date. And we want to see that in the responses that developers submit. We want to see that they have a proven track record of working with communities, that you've collaborated with the local stakeholders, and that you're willing to promote local businesses and arts and culture And then, of course, you have support from the elected officials. We're also looking for competence. This is no small undertaking. We want to ensure that the organization that submits applications has the organizational, financial, and professional wherewithal to get this project done, so that it becomes an actual community asset again. And of course, we want to ensure that this is feasible. There's a tipping point in which a project like this cannot succeed, and we want to make sure that you take that into account. And again, inclusivity is very important to the city. We want to maximize participation and ensure that people are represented within the development. The city is also committed to several other principles that it wants to see as part of this redevelopment. One is design excellence. We're looking to transform communities through good design, exceptional design, really. And we want to ensure that that design is reflective of the diversity of Chicago. So the city is actually going out and found a pre-qualified list of diverse architects and designers around the city. And it would encourage applicants who maybe don't have that experience or want to partner with them to, this is included in our appendix, information in the RFP, to review this list and look for opportunities to partner. And in so doing, produce a high quality product that the community can be proud of. And we've provided the design excellence guidelines in the appendix of the RFP that is on the city's website. So I encourage everyone who is interested in applying to review the design excellence goals in detail, because it is a lengthy document, and one which I cannot summarize in a simple presentation like this, but one in which the city is committed to upholding. And we want to make sure that we build local wealth, as I said, because local people hire locally, they lease locally, and they include the local community. So make sure that that is a fundamental component of your submission package. So where does that leave us in terms of a process moving forward? Well, the RFP has been released. It was released on April 23rd. And we expect it to be 4 months. We want to give people additional time in order, based on previous rounds, I should say, to develop these RFPs. So this summer, we hope to have development teams, multiple development teams, working on different design ideas and program ideas, with the goal of getting those packages to the city no later than August 31st, at which point the city will review the submissions and schedule community meetings where the applicants can present their plans directly to the community. This review period will last anywhere from 2 to 3 months, with the goal of selecting a developer thereafter. At which point, the winning developer would enter into negotiations with the city for entitlements, zoning entitlements, for public financing, and with the goal of, hold on, let's move forward. Oops, I'm going to skip that for a second. The goal of hitting a construction sometime in 2022. We'd like to move these projects forward with pace. We want to see these communities redeveloped for the better. Now, I did skip a slide, and I want to go back to that. The local stakeholders here, as I mentioned, the idea of inclusivity and transparency are very key. And so I think in this regard, we're taking a slightly modified approach to how we've done things in the past rounds. And I would strongly encourage those developers who are interested in submitting an application to the site to email me no later than the 28th, and I'll send out a reminder to all participants on this call today to do so as well, with a representative from your organization and their name, and so that we can schedule a meeting with the local stakeholders and local community where they can they can express their desires for the site that are part of the RFP process. I think it's really important that the stakeholders can meet with potential developers to establish some level of trust, but also so they can provide their vision, which is the vision reflected in the RFP, of course, but it's important that they get a chance to speak to it themselves. And so again, I would highly encourage anyone interested in applying to email me. My email address is there. No later than the 28th, so we can schedule a meeting for early June. Again, we want to give people enough time to incorporate the community feedback into your development proposals. So ideally, we get that meeting scheduled in early June, but I need to know who is interested first. So please, no later than the 28th, send me your contact information so I can get that meeting scheduled with our local stakeholders, and we can proceed with the development proposals. Okay, so that's my portion of the presentation. And as stated earlier, we're opening up to Q&A. And not just myself as on the line, but representatives from other departments who can help answer questions about the RFP itself. It's a long, lengthy document. I'm sure you have many questions. So we'd like to answer them all in time that we have allotted here today. But we'd ask that you put them in the chat. We'll read through the chat and answer them as we go. So if there's no questions about that, we'll take questions about the RFP itself. Thank you for your time. So the first question I have is, will the city take the lead on extending the life of the TIF? Yes. You've no doubt seen that the TIF does expire in 2022. And the city will. My representative of financial incentives is typing a response now, but I think I won't go too far out on a limb to say that the short answer is yes. And we're currently working through an extension with the state as we speak. And Ed, if you want to speak to the answer as well, you feel free to do so. Access to the property. Yes, I would love to get in. The city has not been in. The current owners are receptive to a sale. They've owned the property since 2015 and haven't been able to redevelop it yet. And they want to sell, but I cannot guarantee access to the site at this time. I think it's something we've asked for. And I can ask again and again if we have a list of potential applicants, perhaps we can get them in. But at this time, we cannot get access to the site. Are there drawings available? We could potentially share some drawings with consent of the current owners. That's a question that I can ask them. If they offer consent, then we can share them with potential applicants. And just going back to the question on TIF, yes, thanks, Ed. The TIF, not only are we looking to extend the life of the TIF, but we're also looking to expand the TIF to cover the entire site. Is there an expectation that the affordable housing will be controlled or operated by CHA? Not at this time, but if a potential developer wants to partner with CHA in order to deliver CHA units on the site, I think the city would be open to that. Yes, we can post answers to the questions in the chat.
Hi, this is Chris. So we are going to compile all of the questions from the previous conference today. We're going to put that into one single document, and we're going to post all of the questions and answers on our website once those questions and answers are all compiled.
Is there a list of stakeholders who are consulting on the visioning of this project? Yes, we had local stakeholders from various community organizations in Humboldt Park, and we can provide a full list in that document that Chris referenced. But in short, we had representatives from Bicker Dyke Housing, Hispanic Housing, Puerto Rican Cultural Center, Nobel Neighbors, Puerto Rican Coalition, amongst others, and then the alderman, of course, Alderman Maldonado, who.
Yes, also, if you look at the page 68 of the RFP document, we have listed all of the organizations and individuals who have participated in our community process. So that's a good resource for you as well.
Yes, thanks, Chris. That's 68 would be one among the last pages is acknowledgement, like an acknowledgements page. So those are the stakeholders. The question is regarding local stakeholder meeting. Can you please clarify which local stakeholders will attend, or how many persons, who or how many persons may attend from the developers team? I'm assuming that's referring to the meetings once the RFPs or RFP responses are released. If it's not, I apologize. But so that meeting will be open to the public. That will be broadly advertised by the city and the Department of Planning. We want to ensure that that we get a broad cross section of community members to join, and the development team will establish their teams and present accordingly. Typically, in the past, we've done video presentations where they introduce their team and their components, and that may in fact be a component going forward. Again, a lot of things are happening remotely. By the time we get to September or October, there may be some in-person meetings. We're not quite sure yet.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
I believe the question was about that stakeholder meeting that you are planning for early June.
Oh. So that stakeholder meeting will the stakeholders that we have currently at the roundtables can attend, but that also would be advertised to other community members as well. And this isn't meant to be an exclusive meeting only. Again, inclusivity is one of the goals here, and we want to make sure that people feel like they can have a voice directly to those who may be responding to the RFP. The question was, have we developed a short list of community-based businesses or disadvantaged businesses that may have interest in occupying the bank hall space? No. I think it's incumbent upon developers to find local partners who they think would be good operators for that space. Should that person, the question is, if you don't have a team together, but you still want to attend, yes, please do. It shouldn't be just inclusive for community members, but it should be inclusive for potential developers as well. Teams could form organically as a result of that. So I'd like to encourage those interested in, anybody interested in applying, to attend that meeting. Just want to make sure I get that. The question came up about the $3.25 million acquisition cost. Yeah, that is the proposed acquisition cost. So thank you, Ed. Does the stakeholder meeting take place during step 2 or step 3 of the RFP timeline? So in that regard, it will take place before applications are submitted. So it would be step 2. The question about the library has come up. I saw a question disappear. So yeah, the DPD has talked with the Department or Chicago Public library is about a library branch. Just a brief summary of that, as I understand it from them, the current branch at Costner and North is deficient in terms of what the library would like to see for a branch location. And they've expressed some interest in finding a new location for their library. It's also a desire of the community, one of the desires of the community, to potentially see a library at that site. So it seemed like there was a potential synergy there. But the devil, of course, is in the details, whether the library ultimately controls where and they locate. I think they'd be open to relocating if the terms were good and it met the requirements that they have. So as the RFP states, it's up to developers to approach the library with a plan and an offer, and to come to terms with them should the library want to relocate. But DPD does not necessarily control that process. Whether or not it would be a replacement, I believe it would likely be a replacement for the existing North and Costner site. But yes, the requirements for the library may be difficult on the site, but again, there could be some flexibility. If a developer wants to enter into talks with the library, the DPD can facilitate that, but it's something that it's up to local developers to see if that's a partnership that they want to make. The condition of the bank building. It's unknown. I don't want to speculate too much on the condition of the building itself. There were reports that some of the historic fixtures may have been stripped, but otherwise, it's still standing. And I think it's in pretty good condition. But we tried to build in to the vision, the costs, the potential costs of restoring the bank, and we were fairly conservative in so doing because we weren't sure of the condition.
Hey, Mike, we have Deanna from our historic preservation on the line, so maybe she may have some additional information about the condition of the building. Not sure, but just should check.
Thanks, Chris.
Hi, yes, this is Deanna. Unfortunately, I have not been in the building personally either, so we have not received any recent information on the property itself and the condition. I'd be happy to answer anything regarding the designation, however, if there are questions about that.
So the question I'm seeing, it's about TOD, flexibility with zoning. There's refer to an RFP document, section 4, I believe page 40, where we discussed the zoning implications for the site. You're right, it is not in a TOD, it is not an ETOD. The zoning department is flexible in terms of accommodating some increased density for the site, and to ensure that the vision that we've set forth in the RFP document is one that the city and zoning department can support. They will work with the applicants, the winning applicants, to I think make accommodations for the zoning to ensure that it can be built. So thank you for bringing this up, anonymous attendee. But yes, the pro bono consultant team that we convened, they cannot participate in this RFP. So BKL was the architects who led the design, and they, of course, were pro bono, and they cannot submit a response, nor can the other consultants who provided financial and construction analysis. They are excluded from the process. There could be a huge remediation cost to the library, Paul, but I think the expectation is that given the building's age, hazardous material survey would definitely be needed, and I believe Heidi, you're on the line. Maybe you have experience with buildings of this age about what the expectations are for AIS for remediation. Sure. But I would just say that phase 1 and phase 2 and hazardous material survey would reveal all, and again that's an area where the city can assist. Pardon me. No open questions now, but that doesn't mean there might not be more that come to mind. So I'm going to hang on as long as good. Okay. Considerations for decreasing parking requirements to support a more sustainable development. Short answer, yes. I think the department wants to see the best practices in urbanism and good design. Again, the zoning department will work with applicant teams and the winning applicant to ensure that what they propose is something that they can support and the city can support. So. Okay, 3 questions all at once. Stakeholder meeting include all developers at once. Yes, I'd like it to. I don't. We tried not to favor anyone at this early in the process, and I think details need to be worked out. But ideally, all the applicants who may be interested could, present themselves, and it's really more of a listening session, as I imagine it, for them to listen to what the community goals and desires are. The process for actually sitting as federal tax credits, I would have to kick that over to Deanna. I will say we did model tax credits as part of this review, and we think it'd be a very large source of gap financing. And again, as I said in the presentation, I would really encourage developers to look into that. How that process goes, I asked Deanna to elaborate on.
Hello, this is Deanna. So it is something that I would encourage having a consultant who is familiar with the actual process. It would help with the just preparing the information that needs to be submitted for review by the state as well as the National Park Service. So the project would need to be reviewed for compliance as well as with the Secretary of Interior standards. And there are approvals. Part 2 approval would give you the review of the plans and agreement that everything that you propose to do is in conformance. And then part 3 is the final approval after the completion of the project. I'm not sure if this is enough detail, but we can certainly provide more information and references to where you can locate more detailed process responses on the various websites with the National Park Service and the state.
Owners less than cooperative. That is a concern. The city is currently acquiring acquisition authority for the property. That is a lengthy legal process that we don't want to undertake, but it certainly can be used as a motivating factor to bring the current developer or the prospective developer and the current owner to the bargaining table. We do feel like the owner is cooperative. He has signed a letter of intent agreeing to support a good faith negotiation over the price and acquisition of the property. I think there's a little skeptical of strangers walking through their property. The idea of a phase one, the phase one, we were not expecting any applicant to do a phase one in advance of their application to the city. Environmental reports would be completed after a winning applicant has been chosen. I think conservative estimate on the cost of remediation and cleanup I think would be warranted though. 9% IDA credits. We didn't consider 9% at this time. As I understand it, 9% is very competitive, and the funding rounds are not annual; they are biannual, and they would also compete against other projects and priorities in not just the city as a whole, but in the neighborhood itself. So we think 4% with a TIF match would be sufficient to overcome some of the financial hurdles of this project, and along with some other creative financing sources. And we think, so we're not looking at 9% at this time. Will the community choose? So the community will have a say in the choice, but they are not the deciding factor in this case. But again, it's not. They won't be ignored. I can guarantee you that. Ultimately, the development moves smoother if we have full community support. And part of the reason for issuing the RFP with this detail of a vision is that we feel that this vision is one that the community can support. So provided that developers achieve this vision and meet the goals of the RFP, we think the department is confident that not only will we have broad community support, but departmental support and financial support to make development a reality.
Yeah, so let me just add a couple more thoughts on that. The RFP actually does include all of the evaluation criteria. One is being a professional capabilities as well as financial capabilities. So those things are more of a specialized area that just we feel that City of Chicago and DPD needs to really look at. But there is a community wealth building piece of this criteria that we would heavily depend on the community's input. So we would obviously not only present the proposals to the community, but we would seek opinions and thoughts and comments. We would have opportunity to answer additional questions that community has through that community process. We would obviously do a survey to make sure that as many people participate in that community process. So I think it's a combination of the city's effort, the city department's review, as well as the community's input that we're going to sort of get to a final developer proposal that we all agree on.
Yeah, and you can find the evaluation criteria on page 62 of the RFP. And I think that's a really good answer, Chris. We look at it as a collaborative decision-making process. While we wait, Are there BIPOC requirements for team members? I apologize. I'm not familiar with that acronym. Maybe somebody else on the team is. Existing plans for the bank. If we can get a plans, schematic drawings, we will, and we can try to include them as a an additional attachment sent out to potential applicants. That would need to be consent from the current owners. There's no page limit for submission. We expect it to be we have the submission requirements on page 56 of the RFP. They're detailed and lengthy, and it may end up being hundreds of pages long. We expect a very thorough response, is all I'll say.
Mike, BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and Persons of Color.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So if you can talk about the MBEWB requirements related to this project, that'd be great.
Oh, sure. Chris, actually, I might kick that over to you. I have a note on this, but I'm not sure that it's accurate. If you don't know, then I'll continue on.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, so any city, any project that requires city incentives, we would need to, the project will need to adhere to MBWBE requirements. Right now it's 26% and 6% at minimum, as well as the city residency requirements for any hard construction costs. And with the TIF assistance, the prevailing wage requirement kicks in. And obviously we would like the development team to sort of include a local residents as part of the construction and permanent full-time and part-time job opportunities, and the local business to participate in developing of the project. I don't know if that answers the question, but
yeah, I just say again, the inclusion of a diverse development team is part of the evaluation criteria. We did the expectation that the team that developing the site and potentially win the RFP should look like the community. Will the community have final say over structural design? I think it goes back to that question of who has final say. Again, it's a collaborative process, one with the community and DPD. Again, we want to see a design that is favored by the community. So certainly the community will have a strong say in that. Yeah, so developers have flexibility here. What we've taken out as a vision regarding to the actual library component or other components of the bank hall itself. Developers are free to propose anything they want, really, but we don't think that's advisable, because there's a vision included in the RFP that we think is one that the community can support and one that the department can support. So yes, there's flexibility as of location or where or how things go on the site. So it's really, again, up to developers to determine what components they think are best suited among the ones we've listed, where they'll go, and who their partners will be, and how large or small they'll be. While I wait for more,
Oh my God, say what you want to say and then go back to the questions. Sorry, Mike.
no worries. Will we hash the decision through dialogue? Again, yes. I mean, again, the decision-making process, it is one where the developers will be presenting their plans to the community itself, and we're going to be taking community feedback into account as part of the decision-making process. And again, we're sensitive to the desires and the needs of the community, and we want to see those desires and needs reflected in the ultimate development that happens on the site. I think that's the best way to put it. As I wait for additional questions to come in, I noticed that I didn't see him before, and I apologize. Alderman Maldonado, you had joined the discussion, and I didn't know if you wanted to say anything. I just gave you the option to speak about the community's priorities and your priorities for the site, if you want. Yeah, thanks, Nadia. I had allowed that. Question about landmark. Can you connect the building together? Deanna it can answer this with more specificity, but as I understand it, the north facade of the property, which is the facade facing the vacant lot, is not part of the landmarked facade. Therefore, it is open to modifications.
I can add just a little bit more detail. So in the designation ordinance, there's actually language that details out the interior and exterior significant features of the building and additional guidelines that the commission would be using for changes to either interior or certain elevations of the exterior. And it is, yes, it's correct that the secondary elevation is the west elevation above the annex, and the brick portion of the alley, which is the north elevation. So some changes can be accommodated on the secondary elevations, more so than obviously on the primary street elevations of the building.
Question of consolidated review process, entitlement reviews. Short answer, yes, we're open to that. Maybe a bit of a longer answer. The city wants to move this project forward, with pace, provided that it's supported by the community and financially feasible, of course. So yes, we're looking at all means to make the entitlement process run more smoothly, and if we can, ensure that you don't have to go back to multiple times as a wing developer to get approvals. That's our goal.
Yeah, this is Chris. I don't know if we can consolidate all the entitlement processes, but because they have to go different route. For example, if it's a PD, a plan development that needs to go through the city council and Chicago Plan Commission route, whereas all of the financial incentives will need to go through the Community Development Commission. So I don't know if you can consolidate all those entitlement processes in a financial assistance process, but we could definitely try to expedite to ensure that there's no hiccup throughout the entire process, so we can break ground and then get this construction get going as soon as possible.
Thanks, Chris. Okay. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, but not here to keep anyone longer than they need to be. So I'll wait until panelists seem to be dropping. And if there's no more questions in the next 2 minutes, then I think we could also sign off. Okay, that's not 2 minutes, so I'll give it one more. Yes, short answer, yes. All questions answered here will be posted online. Attendee list, I believe so. Pardon me.
Yes,
Yeah.
we will share the list of attendees. It'll be posted online as well.
All right, everybody. I'll give it another minute, but I think I appreciate everyone's time. And again, for those online who are developers and wish to kind of receive critical community feedback in advance of creating your final design, your proposed design, please email me and indicate your willingness to participate in the stakeholder briefing. And I look forward to working with you and all community members who joined moving forward to see this project become a reality.